Let's be brutally honest for a second. If you've ever been confused by a woman's words versus her actions, congratulations, you're not broken. You're just not playing by her rules. Because in the world of female desire, logic is not the currency. Emotion is. We've all been fed this polite narrative. Just be honest, communicate clearly, and everything will work out. But here's the inconvenient truth most won't tell you. Especially not in a world obsessed with surface-level political correctness. A woman can say she wants a nice guy, yet fall head over heels for someone who ignores her texts. She can claim she craves stability, yet flirt with chaos like it's her favorite perfume. Why? Because what she says often comes from her rational mind. What she feels stems from something much older, deeper, and far more primal. This isn't about bashing women. In fact, once you understand how female desire truly works, beneath the layers of social programming, you gain power. Not over her, but over confusion, over self-doubt, over that feeling of what did I do wrong? In this video, we're going to rip the mask off the conventional narrative and reveal why women are often unaware of their own desires, how society conditions men to misunderstand attraction completely, the psychological wiring behind why her words don't always match her behavior, and how you as a man can decode the signals, tap into genuine connection, and avoid being the guy who keeps getting blindsided. It's not about manipulation. It's about clarity, about finally understanding a language that's been hidden in plain sight. So if you're tired of playing by rules that seem to keep changing, if you've ever asked yourself, why do I do everything right and still lose? Stick around. You're about to hear what most people are too scared to say out loud. Let's get into it. To understand the so-called anti-logic of female desire, you have to start by stepping out of your logical male brain and into the messy, emotional, and biologically wired territory of human psychology, particularly female psychology. Let's get one thing clear. Female desire isn't illogical. It's non-linear. There's a difference. See, as men, we're trained, biologically and socially, to think in straight lines. Problem, solution, input, output, desire, pursuit, outcome. But female psychology evolved under very different conditions. A woman's reproductive success wasn't based on hunting or brute strength. It was based on navigating complex social environments, detecting subtle emotional cues, and securing long-term survival through high-value partnerships. In short, her brain is wired for nuance, and that nuance expresses itself in desire. The two selves, what she says versus what she feels. Psychologist Jonathan Haidt describes the mind as a rider on an elephant. The rider is the rational brain, logical, verbal, controlled. The elephant is the emotional brain, powerful, instinctive, hard to steer. When a woman tells you, I just want someone who listens, who treats me right, that's the rider talking. But when she finds herself uncontrollably drawn to the guy who barely texts her back, that's the elephant. And here's the kicker. The elephant always wins. That's not deception, that's human nature. Evolutionary psychology. Attraction is survival. Let's go deeper. Evolution didn't design female attraction to reward niceness. It designed it to detect survival value. Confidence signals strength. Mystery signals depth. Emotional unpredictability. That triggers attention, and attention was once a matter of life or death. In ancestral environments, emotional cues helped women choose mates who could provide protection, resources, or superior genes. Her subconscious mind isn't filtering for your job title or your Spotify playlist. It's filtering for emotional impact. The guy who gives her butterflies? That's her nervous system saying, this man can alter my state. And in the language of female desire, that's powerful. Social conditioning versus biological truth. Modern society tries to clean all this up. We're told to suppress primal instincts in favor of polite scripts. Just be yourself. Be vulnerable. Treat her like a queen. And while all of that has value, none of it guarantees attraction. Because desire doesn't respond to fairness or morality. It responds to emotional stimulation. When men confuse being good with being desirable, they unknowingly disconnect from the very traits that spark attraction. And when women act on those sparks, even if they contradict their words, they're not being hypocritical, they're being human. So the next time you hear her say one thing but feel something different in her presence, don't assume she's lying. Don't assume she's confused. Realize this. She's responding to layers of psychology she doesn't even consciously control. And when you understand that, when you stop expecting linearity and start learning the emotional language of desire, you stop getting hurt by it. You start playing the right game. Let's now pull the curtain back and look at what's really going on underneath female desire. Why what she says often doesn't match what she responds to. The answer lies in a few psychological triggers most men have never been taught to recognize. Emotional congruence, verbal consistency. We're trained to listen to words. She says, I just want someone stable, someone who's always there for me. So you show up, you stay consistent, you text back fast, you plan the dates, you play it safe. But what happens? She ghosts you, or she says, you're sweet but there's just no spark. Here's the truth most guys miss. Desire isn't about what's right on paper. It's about what feels emotionally congruent. When you try to check all the boxes too perfectly, it feels inauthentic, like a rehearsed performance. Even if she can't explain why, something in her gut says, this guy isn't the one. Why? Because emotional congruence, the alignment between how you show up and how you feel internally, matters more than polished presentation. She's not looking for a script. She's looking for a signal. Tension is not the enemy. It's the spark. Here's a controversial truth. Women don't fall for comfort. They fall during moments of emotional tension. That's why a playful tease works better than a compliment. That's why mystery hits harder than full disclosure. Think of tension like the string of a bow. Too loose, the arrow drops. Too tight, it snaps. But just enough tension, you create energy. You create direction. You create impact. In dating, tension is what makes her feel present. It's what pulls her out of her head and into her body. The problem is, most guys are terrified of tension. They avoid it. They try to smooth every conversation, agree with everything she says, eliminate all friction. But guess what? No tension. No desire. You can't bore someone into wanting you. Desire thrives in uncertainty. Let's talk about one of the most misunderstood aspects of attraction: uncertainty. Women may say they want clarity and reassurance, and in a relationship, yes, that's true. But in the early stages of attraction, uncertainty is a drug. It activates the reward system in the brain, causing dopamine spikes that literally make her think about you more. A 2010 study out of the University of Virginia found that women reported greater attraction to men when they weren't sure how much those men liked them, compared to when they knew for sure. Let that sink in. Her mind fills in the blanks. Her imagination builds the narrative. You become less predictable and therefore more compelling. Her rules aren't her instincts. Here's where most men get caught in the trap. They try to play by her rules, not her instincts. She says she wants honesty, so you overshare. She says she wants a gentleman, so you suppress all flirtation. She says she wants nothing serious, so you treat her casually and act indifferent, and somehow every time, it backfires. Here's why. She doesn't desire rules, she desires resonance. That means making her feel something. Challenge, curiosity, amusement, chemistry. And this doesn't come from being rude or disrespectful. It comes from being grounded in yourself, from being unapologetically masculine, confident and emotionally present, from leading instead of asking, from teasing instead of pleasing. So what's the big takeaway from part 1? Female desire doesn't follow logic, it follows emotion. It rewards boldness, presence, and unpredictability, not boxes checked or words repeated. This is why being a good guy isn't enough, and why guys who learn to speak to her feelings, not just her words, end up in entirely different leagues, ready for the next level. Let me know when you're ready for core explanation, part 2, where we dismantle the biggest myths about nice guys, break down the danger of validation seeking, and reveal what actually builds long-term desire. All right, now we go deeper. If part 1 opened your eyes to how female desire actually functions beneath the surface, part 2 is about clearing the landmines. The myths, the beliefs that sabotage good men every single day, usually without them even realizing it. Because here's the cold truth. The biggest enemy of attraction isn't rejection, it's misinterpretation. And most guys have been fed a diet of terrible advice that feels good, but kills attraction. Let's break down the myths and expose what's really happening. The nice guy is not nice. He's strategic, let's be honest. The nice guy isn't actually being nice because he's a saint. He's being nice because he wants something in return. Affection, validation, approval, sex. It's a transaction, a strategy masked as sincerity. And women feel it. This creates a strange emotional dissonance. On the surface, he's agreeable and accommodating. But beneath it, there's tension, there's expectation, there's pressure. And that pressure repels her. Because true desire can't exist where there's obligation. Women don't reject nice guys because they hate kindness. They reject them because they don't feel free to choose them. Validation is her currency, but not her compass. Here's a mistake 90% of men make. They lead with validation. You're so beautiful. You're amazing. I can't believe someone like you is single. Sounds sweet, right? But if all you're offering is praise, guess what happens? You become predictable. You become beneath her. You reinforce that she is the prize, and you're the audition. But attraction isn't about putting her on a pedestal. It's about creating mutual magnetic tension. A man who leads with validation isn't seen as confident. He's seen as insecure, seeking approval, lacking polarity. The truth? Women crave emotional polarity. They want to feel your energy as a man, not just your approval as a fan. The comfort trap, when stability kills spark. Now let's talk about something that destroys long-term desire: over-availability. In the early stages of a relationship, unpredictability creates excitement. But many men, once they get the girl, slip into full-on comfort mode. They become emotionally neutral, routine, predictable, boring, and they call it commitment. But what they've really done is extinguish the fire. Desire doesn't die because love disappears. It dies because polarity disappears. The very thing that attracted her in the beginning, your presence, your mystery, your emotional leadership, gets replaced with routine and passivity. You didn't lose her because you weren't enough. You lost her because you stopped being who she fell for. The feminine tests, and it's not personal. One of the most misunderstood parts of female psychology is testing. You might think she's being difficult, dramatic, unreasonable. But in reality, she's testing for strength. Not physical strength, emotional strength. The feminine wants to feel safe, not just protected physically, but emotionally. And the only way to know if she can lean into you is to test your frame. Why don't you ever post me? Are you even serious about this? That girl was cute. Do you know her? These aren't attacks. They're emotional signals, asking, can I trust you to be unshakable? When you react, defend, or collapse, you fail the test. When you stay grounded, amused, and calmly direct, you pass with flying colors. Here's the secret. She doesn't need you to be perfect. She needs to feel your center is solid, even when she's not. Attraction isn't a formula, it's a vibe. Finally, let's kill the biggest myth of all, that there's a checklist you can follow to make her want you. There isn't, because attraction isn't logic, it's energy. It's how you make her feel in your presence. Are you grounded or anxious? Are you curious or reactive? Are you leading or seeking approval? She doesn't analyze it, she feels it, instantly. And your job isn't to memorize lines or techniques. It's to build an inner world so strong, so steady, so alive, that she gets pulled into it without even knowing why. In short, if you want to master female desire, stop trying to solve her and start learning to feel her. It's not about logic, it's about frequency. And when you transmit the right energy, her words won't matter nearly as much as how she reacts to your presence. Now that we've unpacked the hidden psychology behind female desire, it's time to get dangerously practical, because knowledge is useless if you don't know how to move differently in the real world. So let's take everything we've covered, from emotional congruence to tension, unpredictability, and frame, and translate it into moves you can actually make. This section is your weaponized wisdom. Let's go. Stop asking for permission. Start leading with intention. Most guys kill attraction by asking instead of leading. Is it okay if I call you later? Would you like to hang out sometime? Are you free this weekend? It sounds polite, but it's weak. Here's how to flip the script. Instead of asking, assume mutual interest and lead. Say, hey, I'm heading to this rooftop spot Friday. Come with me. Notice the difference. It's confident, assumes value, projects certainty. This creates a vibe of direction, decisiveness, and emotional dominance. She doesn't want you to manage her emotions. She wants to ignite them. Tease, don't please. You've been conditioned to win her over with compliments. But what if you flip that? Teasing is powerful because it creates playful tension. It communicates high social awareness, comfort in your own skin, and emotional agility. Instead of, "You're so pretty," try, "You seem like the type who takes 17 selfies before choosing one." Instead of, "I like your outfit," say, "Did you borrow that from your cool aunt or something?" Playful, not insulting. Confident, not arrogant. It's the edge that keeps her intrigued. Embrace silence, don't fill it. Men often panic in silence. They talk too much, over-explain, or spill unnecessary details just to keep the vibe safe. But here's the move. Silence is seductive. It creates space. It amplifies presence. It makes her lean in. Next time you're in conversation, practice strategic pauses. Let moments breathe. Hold eye contact. Let her feel you, not just hear you. A man who's comfortable in silence? Unforgettable. Master emotional calibration. Every woman is different, but the principle stays the same. Feel the room. Own the energy. If she's playful, match her energy, but lead it. If she's reserved, slow down. Create comfort. If she's testing, hold your frame. Don't overreact. Think of yourself as the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the tone. This level of awareness creates magnetic presence. She feels like you see her, not just want her. See. Speak less. Say more. Here's a power move few guys ever master. Say less, but make every word hit. Drop vague filler statements. Replace them with bold, intentional language. Instead of, "We should hang out sometime," say, "Let's make this happen. Tuesday, I'll pick you up at 7. Instead of, "I think you're cool," say, "There's something about you I'm into, and I'm not even sure what it is yet." That's rare. The key isn't quantity. It's emotional weight. Final bonus move, the walk-away power. Nothing triggers female desire like knowing you're capable of walking away. Not as a manipulation tactic. Not to play games. But because you respect yourself that much. Women aren't attracted to men who need them. They're drawn to men who choose them, boldly, freely, and without fear of loss. When your energy says, "I want you, but I don't need you," you become a rare breed. And that's magnetic. Let's bring it all together. If you've stuck with me this far, you already sense it. This isn't just about dating. It's about decoding energy, mastering presence, and reclaiming your masculine power. Because at its core, the anti-logic of female desire isn't broken. It's just different. Women aren't being deceptive when they say one thing and feel another. They're being emotional beings, wired for nuance, depth, and experience. And once you stop expecting her to operate on the same linear path as you, everything changes. You stop reacting. You stop overanalyzing. You stop chasing her words and start tuning into her vibe. You become the guy who sees past the mask, who isn't thrown by contradictions, who leads with certainty, speaks with presence, and acts from inner alignment. And that's rare. That's attractive. That's powerful. So here's your challenge. Start feeling more and fixing less. Practice being the man who listens with his body, not just his ears. Learn to embrace her chaos without losing your calm. Because women don't want a man who makes sense. They want a man who makes them feel. And when your energy speaks louder than your words, she'll remember you, long after you've left the room. If this video cracks something open for you, drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know the biggest myth you just shattered. And if you're ready for more no BS truths about relationships, desire, and human behavior, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started. Welcome to the side of the internet where things get real. I'll see you in the next one. End.